Hello and welcome to the Fit News Podcast. I am your host, Jen Shaver, and joining me today is Jessica Jamison, a licensed mental health counselor and certified personal trainer, offering both services through her business, Revolution Health. With over 9 years of experience, she supports chronic dieters in finding peace with food, fitness, and their body. Her specialties in therapy include binge eating, emotional eating, and body image. Personal training, she helps individuals with mental health challenges feel strong and confident through strength training and intuitive movement. Jessica practices from a non-diet, weight-inclusive, and health at every size approach. Having recovered from disordered eating, over-exercising, and years of hating her body, she brings empathy and authenticity to her work. Today, she loves lifting weights almost as much as she loves eating donuts. Jess, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today.
Hi, Jen. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for that intro.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat. As we are chatting, it is January, and we know that January is a notorious month when it comes to the whole new year, new me, weight loss, and all that stuff. And we're going to get into that. But before we do, I want to kind of give our listeners a little window into your story and how it kind of led you to be in the space that you are currently in right now.
Yeah. So I'll give you the brief overview. Because my challenges go way back. I probably was at, my worst in terms of disordered eating in high school. And over the years, it kind of just looked differently. I was in high school, I was underweight. I lost my menstrual cycle. So there, and I, at the time, I didn't really know how badly I was struggling. And then it kind of morphed into, me over exercising. I was eating again in college, but I was spending hours at the gym. Um, and again, not really knowing that this wasn't normal.
Yeah,
I spent all those years of my life thinking this was normal. This is
right.
what all girls did,
Yeah.
right? Like we just worked so hard to have that perfect body.
Mhm.
Um, I was always fascinated by eating disorders. I kind of like at a young age said I wanted to become a therapist, but I think it was because I had one, right?
Yeah.
Like I just dove into it because I mean, like it was something like I really resonated with, but again,
Right.
not really knowing at the time
Yeah.
why. And then in college I did discover weightlifting and I truly believe that weightlifting changed my life.
Yeah.
That was when I did start making shifts in my mindset and I wanted to be strong instead of skinny. I started learning about nutrition and how to fuel my body. And I started my healing journey then. Um, but it was still a little obsessive. I was still after a certain physique. The physique was just strong and toned versus like as thin as I could possibly be.
Yeah.
At that time, I had a lot of injuries. My body was run down still.
Mhm.
And then I finished my master's in family therapy, which I do not do anymore. It wasn't a great fit. And I ended up leaving. I left the clinical field for like 7 years and became a
Mhm.
personal trainer. Because again, at that time I fell in love with fitness. I was super passionate about
Right.
it.
Mhm.
I was in the weight loss industry at the time. Um, still with my own challenges, right? Like not fully knowing what was going on for me still after that perfect body. I truly believed at the time, like as a trainer, like my body was my business card.
Yeah.
Um, and it didn't really hit me that I was really struggling until I couldn't get pregnant. And that was when I really started my healing journey. Um, and becoming that person who exercised from a place of self-care and body respect instead of like punishment or trying to achieve some sort of physique goal. Unfortunately, I was able to have kids. And, all in within there was when I decided the weight loss industry was no longer a good fit. So I left that and opened my own business where now like you said, I do both therapy for eating disorders and body image and offer weight inclusive, trauma informed personal training. Um, again, really helping people focus on healing their relationship with food, fitness, and body. Because that's what I went through, and I am happy to be kind of on the other side, and I want to help other women get there too.
Right, right. And so don't you think that even if you don't necessarily have a diagnosed, eating disorder, that there is still this negative or this connotation when it comes to exercise that is simply exercise as a means towards a physical look?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I work with women who do not meet the DSM criteria for
Mhm,
like an eating disorder.
mhm,
Um, we can just feel like we have a dysfunctional relationship with food and exercise and
mhm.
not have an eating disorder.
Right,
But yes, I think that fitness is marketed to us as this, means to get the body that you want, like, and one that is socially acceptable.
right, right,
When we know that there's so many other benefits to having a
right,
positive relationship with movement besides your physical appearance.
right, right. But I think that perception that exercise is a means towards this, you know, quote unquote perfect body, that is what makes people think they want to exercise, but then not exercise because then they think, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like they think that's what they want, and then they skip the exercise because they'd obviously rather be doing something else, right? Instead of kind of changing that perspective that if I do get this exercise in, I'm going to have more energy, my hormones are going to be better, I'm going to sleep
Mhm.
better. I mean, it's just instead of looking at it from a physical perspective,
Yeah.
shifting that to, wait a minute, this exercise is more about a bunch of other things.
Yeah. And I think that's hard because we can't see those things
Right.
immediately. So we want that instant gratification
Mhm.
of visually seeing our progress in the mirror.
Right.
And I get that. I'll make space for that for sure.
Yeah.
But, right, that is often coming from a place of punishment or this
Mhm.
desire or need to fix your body
Right.
versus coming from that place of respect and
Mhm.
acceptance and self-care.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about this idea of body neutrality.
Hmm.
First, diving into what are we talking about when we say body neutrality, and then
Yeah.
how does it translate there into
Yeah.
your
I think most people have heard of body positivity,
uh-huh.
and body neutrality is a little bit more of like a newer what do we want to call it? Modality, approach, framework. I don't know what word you want to use there actually.
Yeah.
Um, but body neutrality focuses on accepting your body without judgment and
Mhm.
really prioritizing like its function and capabilities over aesthetics.
Mhm.
So it's a more neutral, right, as it says, a more neutral stance
Mhm.
towards your physical appearance,
Mhm.
where what body positivity kind of says is that we love and celebrate our body for its imperfections, which I think is great. I think
Right.
it's wonderful. It's just for those of us who've really struggled in our relationship with food and fitness in our bodies,
Yeah.
we often can't get there.
Right.
So that aiming for more of neutrality
Mhm.
just feels a little bit more accessible than loving our imperfections.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of meeting yourself where you are currently at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I always make space for women who want to change the way that they look or even to lose weight. I don't think there's anything wrong with weight loss as a goal. But it's it change comes from that place of acceptance, right?
Mhm.
And honoring where you're at.
Right, right. Yeah. And, especially as I said when we first started our talk, this is coming out in January. It's the month of the new year, new me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that thinking that, we need a new me, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Again, always trying to fix something about
Hmm.
ourselves, whether
Right,
it's the way we look, the way we eat, how much we exercise. And again, I think it's okay to have goals.
right.
But that's right. If we think about what a goal is, we're often very focused on the outcome.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, that outcome is sometimes and oftentimes not within our control.
Yes.
And that's when we get really upset and defeated, about those New Year's resolutions that we set.
Right, right. And so instead of doing that, what are some things that you recommend?
Um, so I think we can set intentions,
Hmm.
right? Because I don't really believe that our health, especially when it comes to our body size and our weight, is in our control.
Hmm.
So I think we can look at the things that we maybe want to influence or feel like we have more agency over,
Hmm.
um, in focusing on those things rather than the desired outcome.
Hmm.
Um,
A number on a scale.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like I'm honest with all the women that I take on as clients.
Hmm.
When we focus on healing, when we focus on the behavior changes that we often want to see ourselves making,
Yeah.
we actually don't know how that's going to impact our body size
Right.
or the number on the scale. It's too complicated.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. And that's, it comes down to making some choices, right, within our current habits
Hmm.
as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I think when it comes to like habits, right? Because again, like New Year, we often
Right.
want to start those new habits.
Hmm.
And like a habit, like for example, like I don't what habit, like you probably see like in what you do, like, oh, I want to get into the habit of like exercising 2 to 3 times a week,
Hmm.
right? Or I want to get into the habit of eating a vegetable every day. And I think where women get stuck is that we don't always have the skills to
Right.
create the new habits. And there's a difference between habits and skills.
Yeah.
So going back to like you asked, like what can we do instead of set like New Year's resolutions? Like, okay, thinking about like what skills do I want to work on this year, right? That'll actually help me implement, well, I can't talk, implement the new habits that I want to create.
Right. Right. Yeah. Now, I know that you also work with using fitness when it comes to improving mental health challenges, because we
Hmm.
know that there is such a link, so much research is coming out regarding the link between mental health and exercise.
Yeah, so I'm a firm believer in the mind-body connection. I think
Mhm.
that when we're feeling strong physically, we are often in a better space mentally and vice versa.
Mhm.
And I think we know research has proven that movement um, is incredibly important in terms of like healing, depression and managing anxiety and stress.
Right.
Um, so again, another huge reason to move your body is for the sake of your mental health.
Mhm.
So, I like to use movement as like a modality for healing. And that's going to look a little bit different for everyone, but
Mhm.
um, with whether I'm working with a therapy client on the mental health side, we're talking about how are we moving our body? How are we setting intentions around that? And what does that look like for you? And how are we making it joyful and fun? Or if I'm working with a personal training client, it looks a little bit more like helping you connect with your body. Um, that can be really hard for people, especially those, those with a trauma history to like be in your body.
Right.
um, and helping you be able to move intuitively, right?
Mhm.
Um, in versus exercising or doing some sort of fitness routine because you feel like you have to and someone told you that you should.
Right. Right. Yeah. And, I think that's the other thing that we need to kind of address is that, so many women are like, whoa, I have to do this workout because I read it here, or this is the one
Mm-hmm.
that's always worked in the past, or whatever it is. And they might not still enjoy whatever that workout is.
Yeah. And then it becomes dreadful,
Right.
right? It becomes something that you don't look forward to and you don't want to do it because you probably never wanted to do it in the first place. You just felt like you should.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer of getting rid of the shoulds.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Finding, obviously you and I both advocate for strength training, particularly, I mean, for all women, no matter what age, but particularly, women over 50 starting into menopause when, you know, bone density is dropping, muscle
Yes.
mass is dropping. So it's very important. It's crucial. Um, you know, but we also need to find movement that you enjoy so that way you can be kind of
Yeah.
consistent. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the strength training, like it can look so different. Like we have to
Right.
tap into like how is this gonna work for you in a way that again, you enjoy it,
Right.
right? So like strength training can be an at-home workout, it can be at a gym, it can be a
Mhm.
CrossFit class, it can be bands, it can be free weights. Like it doesn't have to look the same way for everyone.
Right.
And if you
Right.
can find a way to actually enjoy strength training, you're going to be more apt to stick with it for all of those
Mhm.
long-term benefits that you can't see right away.
Right, right. And and I think I think that's one of the hard parts about strength training is you don't see,
Mm-hmm.
the quote
Mm-hmm.
unquote calorie burn on your wrist
Mm-hmm.
after you're done, right? Um, you sometimes might not be like super sweaty or feel, like you've killed yourself in your workout. So, oh, it didn't really do anything. And I think that's one of the things that we as fitness professionals need to kind of help people get through because the benefits of strength training beyond the muscle and the bone, with our mental health, with our hormones, with, just a variety of other things are just, it's amazing. It's like a magic pill that you get to take whenever you want, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, strength training definitely changed my life in so many ways. And I truly believe like I'm a healthier person because of it.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, we have to let go of all the rules, I think, around it.
Mhm.
And all remember that all of it counts, all movement counts, whether you did,
Right.
whether you picked up those weights for 15 minutes or 45 minutes,
Yeah.
it all counts.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's another thing that, stops so many women from, I would say, all exercise because there is this perception that the workout has to be an hour, it has to be at the
Yep.
gym. And it doesn't, if you have 10 minutes,
Yeah.
last I
Yeah.
checked,
And
10 is more than zero. So,
right, exactly. And I can't tell, like, I followed all of those rules, right?
yeah,
Like, at one point in my life, like,
right. Oh, I think we all
my,
are guilty of
yeah,
that, right?
my workouts were incredibly structured.
Yeah.
Like I went into the gym, like, I would do my strength first, my cardio after, because that's how I was told I should do
Yeah.
it. And I went in with my little notepad, keeping track of
Mhm.
every lift I did.
Yeah.
Like all the weights that I use, like all of it. Like it would again, like I would then go home and I'd log my food into like three different macro counting apps to
Yeah.
make sure that I was eating appropriately before and after my workouts, right? And getting enough protein around my lifting. Like none of that was healthy,
Right.
right? But like you said, like just being able to be like, okay, I have 10 minutes. How can I move my body in these 10 minutes, even if it's not perfect,
Yeah.
right? That is so much better for our mental health than living by all of these rules.
Yeah. Yeah. And the same holds true with our food as well.
Hmm.
The, the whole restriction and labeling of the good and the bad and
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Again, I'm a huge advocate for ditching all of those rules and not letting go of structure. I think many of us need structure. I think
right.
that structure is part of becoming an intuitive eater and helping you build those skills, those eating skills,
Hmm.
until you're ready to let some of that structure go. But
Hmm.
too much structure and rules, yeah, they're going to set us for failure because what is anxiety, right?
Right.
It's worrying about all of the rules.
Hmm.
So if we
Yeah.
just let go of some of the rules,
Yeah.
we're often a lot less anxious.
Right. Right. Um, so you mentioned I had a thought and it just left. See, this is what happens in midlife. There you go, ladies. I was like, oh, I want to ask her about that. Well, I'll have to call you back.
Anytime.
Um, but let's continue talking about the role of diet and exercise together. And oh, I know what it was. I'm going to interrupt myself there.
Okay, I'm ready.
Intuitive eating.
Yeah.
What would you say is intuitive eating?
So I would say that it is being able to listen and respond to your body's needs.
Mhm.
Um, and I think there is a misconception out there that like it's just eat whatever you want whenever you feel like it.
Mhm.
And that's not necessarily true. Like intuitive eating more is more about, again, being able to respond to your body, right? Listen and respond, not control, um, and being able to balance what you want
Mhm.
with what you know your body needs.
Okay. Because I know in your bio, right, we talked about that you love lifting weights almost as much as you love eating donuts,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I know that you're not eating a donut for breakfast every day.
No, I'm not. That wouldn't make me feel good.
Right.
Right, but I love donuts.
Right.
I do take an all foods fit approach. Like I think
Mhm.
there's room for all foods in our
Right.
diet. And yeah, I mean, I don't label foods good and bad.
Mhm.
But over the years, like I have learned to listen to my body. And me not eating a donut for breakfast, it used to be, right? It used to make that decision out of fear of gaining weight, right?
Right.
I'm not going to eat the donut for breakfast every day because that would make me gain weight.
Right.
Now it comes from a place of that probably wouldn't make me feel great, right? That donut's not going to carry me through lunch. I'm going to be hungry again in an hour. So I'm able to say like, can I have a donut? Yes, that's what I want. How do I balance this with what I know my body needs, right? What I know is going to fuel my body while
Yeah.
having something that's satisfying a craving, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. And I think that that is a very important distinction there, what you said. Whereas in the past, it was out of fear.
Yeah.
And and I think that that will resonate with many women because a lot of times you say, "Oh, I can't have the cake today. I'm,
Mm.
working on my summer body or whatever." I'm those of you listening, I'm rolling my eyes.
Same. And you're actually gonna get, in terms of like those nutritional changes, you're gonna get a lot further with yourself with permission w- rather than like shame and judgment,
Right, right. And
right? Because
restriction.
if I wanted to have a donut every day for breakfast, I'll give my permission to do that. I could do that, right? I'm not telling myself, no, that's
Mm,
bad. I'm saying I give myself permission and I'm actively choosing not to do that.
right.
But again, that's coming from that place of self-care and listening to my body versus a very shameful and judgmental place.
And I think that that is a very important sentence right there. It's coming from a place of self-care, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
give my body the nutrients it needs
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
majority of the days.
Yeah. Yeah, majority of the days, majority of the meals,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and it, I think, I know a lot of women struggle with like, well, I crave the sweets all the time, or I crave the salty foods all the time. Like, how do I listen to my body when like I'm just
When my
overcome
body's
with
telling me that that's
all,
all I want.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And time and patience and practice, and again, building those intuitive skills because with all of the years of dieting that you've probably been through, ladies, like you don't have those skills yet. You can't expect yourself to.
Right.
Like we have to, most of us are not ready to jump right into being
Mhm.
intuitive. There's some
Right.
work we have to do first.
Yeah. Yeah. But, and then I think, once we have done that work, you find that the more times you are choosing to fuel your body with the nutrients that it needs, that those times of cravings become less and less.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to give ourselves that time
Hmm.
to, right, that time to adjust.
Hmm.
Because the food noise, man, like it's a real thing. And for the woman that struggle with it, like it's exhausting.
Right.
Um, but yeah, with the tools and the support, you can definitely get to that place where those cravings subside and you are able to make those choices that I know you so desperately want to be making for yourself.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Jess, if our listeners want to find more about you, where can they find you?
yeah, I would say my website's a good place to start, revolutionhc.com. That's going to have all of my services and contact information there.
Okay.
And then I try to post a lot on Instagram at Just Be Jamison. That's where you'll find a little bit more content related to fitness, weight neutral personal training, trauma informed personal training, moving in that direction with my Instagram account. And then anyone is welcome to join my free Facebook community called Dumbbells and Donuts,
Like it.
where we talk all things about healing your relationship with food, fitness, and your body. It is not a weight loss support group. We're really focused on finding peace.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Anything else you think we missed today, Jess?
No, I think that was great. We covered a lot.
All right. Super. Well, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Jen.
Yeah. And thank you for listening to the Fit News Podcast, and we will catch you next time.